I I really don't know if I want to make this video because this video somehow, some way, in some universe happens to be the one we're living in. I have to say that the Dallas Mavericks had a good offseason. In the same stretch of time where they traded Luka Doncic 6 months ago. It is the weirdest twist of fate I feel like I'm ever going to go through. Because objectively, according to a lot of people, including myself, they have had a good offseason. It just dumbs away from the fact that you think about they traded Luka Doncic 6 months ago. And you just can't stop thinking about it. To be honest, I am still getting over the part where I am experiencing a world where Luka Doncic isn't a Dallas Maverick. Like, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. It still doesn't make sense. And we've watched Luka play in a Lakers jersey for the last 4 months of the season, the entire offseason, and it's just still Luka Doncic as a Laker. And it still doesn't make sense. But anyway, I don't want to touch too much on it because, the past is what the past is, and Nico Harrison, for whatever reason, decided to make that decision. So we as NBA fans kind of have to live with that decision. Obviously, it is much easier for me to live with that decision than it is a Mavericks fan, but I'm able to move past it. Unfortunately, there is Maverick fans. I saw a video a week ago where there was a Maverick fan that went up to Nico Harrison and, still talked trash to him because he made the deal. It just still doesn't feel right. But I'm going to move on from it because the past is what the past is now. We need to look at this new look Dallas Mavericks team and see if there is any optimism in that team, which I believe there is. But I also feel like they could have achieved that same goal without getting rid of a superstar talent that's going to ruin the league for the next 15 years. That's my only thing. I think that as good as Cooper Flag is projected to be, and as good as Cooper Flag might be, he's not Luka Doncic. And Luka Doncic and Cooper Flag are about 2 inches shorter than each other. There's not much height difference between the two. Obviously, Cooper Flag will be slightly better on the defensive side of the ball, but they, to me, just feel like sort of the same player. In a sense where they're going to just be that sort of little do-it-all, everything sort of player. But the amount of love that organization had for Luka Doncic, it's going to be hard to try and transition to Cooper Flag. Because as soon as Cooper Flag gets good, Maverick fans aren't going to know if Cooper Flag's safe on the roster or not. Because he might get shipped and packed up somewhere else to get another aging talent. We just don't know. So Nico Harrison at the moment, he got bailed out. If he didn't get that first pick, if they fell to where they were supposed to, which was like the 6th or 7th pick, this offseason for the Mavericks looks so much different. They were just fortunate enough to find themselves in a position where they get that number 1 overall pick, and it completely changed their offseason. It makes the AD trade look slightly better, because once you get Kyrie back, Kyrie and AD will be a pretty decent, on-court combination together. Cooper Flag, it gives Cooper Flag good options in terms of mentorship around him. He's got a mix of veterans and he's got a couple of younger guys that are going to also develop with him, with the likes of your Derek Lively. Daniel Gafford has been a solid big man for them for the last 3 years or so that he's been on the roster. He will continue to do those small things for the franchise. The biggest thing with both Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford is it moves Anthony Davis to the 4 spot. And Anthony Davis has wanted to play power forward for the last 5 years of his career. He played center the whole time he was at the Lakers and he hated it. He openly said in the media multiple times that he hated playing the center spot and that he wanted to go back to the 4 because he's able to stretch the floor a bit more. He's able to take his sort of mid-range jump shots without worrying too much about going for rebounds and all the dirty work, as per se. It is really going to help him. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are the biggest sit-in-the-dunker spot, grab defensive and offensive rebound bigs probably in the entire league. That is where their value lies as players, and it will continue to be valuable for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis will go back to playing his natural position at the 4. Cooper Flagg obviously will probably run their 3 spot. This all, by the way, is while Kyrie's injured. I'll sort of talk about Kyrie when Kyrie comes back, because this first half of the season without Kyrie on the roster, it's going to look a little different. We don't sort of know what's going to happen with this roster. Obviously, their other signing over the offseason, they bring in D'Angelo Russell, which, for the extent of D'Angelo Russell's career, you do not know what you're going to get. He started off with the Lakers, showed signs, went up to Brooklyn, became pretty much the best point guard in the league for like a year, went to Minnesota. No, he went to the Warriors first because he was a part of the KD trade. I had to watch half a season of D'Angelo Russell at the Warriors, which with him and Steph Curry combined really didn't work. Didn't make sense. So the backcourt there sort of was weird. Like, you didn't really get to see much of D'Angelo Russell because you couldn't really build off him. Then he went to the Timberwolves, made the playing game. He was a part of that infamous playing game where Pat Beverly's taking his shirt off and throwing it in the stands, and the Timberwolves have just won the championship. That celebration, still to this day, was just absurd. But anyway. And then he went back to the Lakers, where he didn't show a lot. And then Brooklyn, obviously, Brooklyn was a tank job last year. They were trying to get that number 1 overall pick for Cooper. But it ends up in the Mavericks' hands. And so does D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo didn't sign for a lot, I don't think. I think it was a pretty minimum deal. I think it was just a 1 year. So he's sort of just going to hold it down while Kyrie's out. I expect D'Angelo to play that point guard until Kyrie comes back. And then I think Dallas sort of shifts into a sense of Kyrie is back at the point guard. Because while Luka Doncic was on the roster, Luka was always going to play point guard. He was always going to get the ball in his hands. He was always going to be able to make the plays. And Kyrie was just that secondary star, where if the ball found its way to his hands, then he would make a play with it. But until that sort of happened, Kyrie sort of took half a back seat. Which, with Kyrie, you saw once Luka got traded, before he obviously went out and all the injury horrors of the Mavericks started, you saw Kyrie go back into his own and become the player that he was pre-Luka. The experiment was a good one, don't get me wrong. They made a finals. So, like, it literally, you can't get much better, obviously, than winning the finals, but there was no world where the Celtics were going to lose that year. Obviously, they said that the year before with the Warriors, but the Warriors still ended up managing to... Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. That's another story. But yeah, it was a really good backcourt while it lasted. Obviously, it's not to be anymore. Kyrie goes back to the natural point guard, and I feel like it's going to be good for the whole team. It'll be interesting to see what the Kyrie and AD pairing is like, because obviously we've watched both of these guys play on separate rosters for the extent of their careers. Both played with LeBron. I feel like they've had basically the same career. They just have never actually met up on the same team. So the Mavericks are going to be able to give that to them. You've got other sort of guys. Max Christie was sort of running spot minutes for the Mavericks last season. He probably gets pretty decent minutes at the 2 guard this season, because the Mavericks, for me, are really thin at the 2 guard spot at the moment. So much so that it scares me that I might actually one day have to watch D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie Irving in the same backcourt. I don't want it to happen, don't get me wrong, but within the last few years, the Mavericks have gotten rid of Dorian Finney-Smith, who could play there too. They got rid of Tim Hardaway, who could play there too. They've had so many guys play there too that they've basically just moved on. And at this point in time, the Mavericks do not have a lot to go to at that 2 guard spot. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring in. Maybe sort of by the mid-season deadline, they bring in another, vet minimum sort of guy. I don't know what Malik Beasley's situation is if Detroit don't want to give him another contract. Obviously, I think Malik has been cleared of all his gambling stuff that was going on with him during the offseason. But he would be a good pickup for them, just a corner shooter. Because Kyrie's going to make a play. Kyrie's good at getting to the ring. Anthony Davis is going to stretch the floor and do everything that Anthony Davis does. And you've got good rebounders at the center spot. All they're really missing is that two guard that can sit in the corner and just hit every shot that they take. I think that is probably the one missing piece for the Mavericks. Besides that, it just depends on Klay Thompson this year. Obviously, we've got Klay Thompson playing, and he has looked genuinely good over this offseason. But as I said a couple of videos ago, I'm not buying into off-season videos anymore. I'm not doing any of that stuff because a lot of it's subjective and all the Ben Simmons stuff just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, so you don't really worry about it. If Klay Thompson has one more good year, it potentially would look good for the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks can go top 4. If Klay looks good, if Cooper Flag is as good as advertised, if Anthony Davis stays healthy this year, because we know for the extent of Anthony Davis's career, he is injury prone. So if he can stay healthy, Kyrie can come back and then stay healthy and stay on the court. I can see a top 4 seed. Maybe second round, maybe conference finals, depending on sort of what goes on. But Nico Harrison has hit the jackpot. I still can't believe it. Can't believe I'm still talking about the Mavericks as a good basketball team and they just got rid of their superstar not long ago. It's incredible. It just makes no sense to me. But they will be a good basketball team. Klay Thompson is the one key for them, though. If Klay comes out at the start of the year and looks really bad, it's going to hurt their success because he is all they have at the two-guard spot. And obviously, you can try and replace him, but Klay Thompson, to me, doesn't seem like the sort of guy, obviously being at the Warriors and all that sort of stuff, doesn't seem like the kind of guy that will willingly just take a role on the bench. That's just me. So Klay needs to come out and have a good year, and it will unlock a lot of things for the Mavericks, and it will bring their future up. Obviously, Klay, Kyrie, and AD probably only have a few years left in their career, but there is a chance for them to come together and actually make some noise come playoff time next season. That's basically it. The Mavericks are a subjectively good basketball team. How? I have no idea. But it is what it is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm loving making this content at the moment. We are, I think, about 40 days away from basketball, and I'm hanging out it can't come soon enough. So I'm waiting for that, excited for that. Thank you guys for watching. Next team will be up in the next couple of days. I feel like, doing a quiz in the next couple of days just to break up this content because I've been doing team after team for pretty much months now, so I'm going to try and freshen up the content, do a quiz or something just to throw something else in there. Thank you guys. I will see you guys in the next couple of days. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye.